Scientists injected cobra DNA into their assistant, and soon his limbs began to sprout snake scales, his whole body quickly mutating. But just as he was about to fully turn into a cobra, the assistant let out a fart, dissipating the effects, leaving the professor completely stunned. The experiment's failure turned the assistant into a half-human, half-snake creature, not what the professor had in mind. So in frustration, he sold this creature at a low price to the local circus, where the half-snake assistant became the biggest attraction, drawing crowds, unaware that this creature was once human. Meanwhile, the professor, needing a new assistant after the last one mutated, hired a college intern, Dan, who felt a shiver down his spine seeing all the weird creatures in the lab. If it weren't for the professor's pretty daughter, he might have packed up and left after a few seconds. The professor briefly introduced himself, saying he was passionate about various research projects, aiming to transplant snake DNA into different organisms to observe the changes. Due to the abundance of venomous snakes in the lab, he gave Dan an anti-venom serum for safety. But what Dan didn't know was that it was king cobra DNA, and he became a guinea pig, feeling dizzy within minutes. The professor assured him it was normal, but when Dan got home, he started experiencing other symptoms. Unbeknownst to him, the snake DNA was altering his body, and when he woke up, he realized he'd slept for 2 days, and his face was beginning to shed. He rushed to find the professor, who told him it was a normal reaction to the serum, claiming it would protect him from venom. Dan believed him, not noticing anything odd, thinking the professor was taking good care of him. But just then, the police showed up to investigate the disappearance of the previous assistant, yet found nothing suspicious in the lab. After the police left, the professor gave Dan another injection, not noticing a snake's natural enemy was howling at him. Afterwards, Dan would often stare blankly at snakes, feeling like he was looking at family. To keep the experiment going, the professor had his daughter treat Dan well, bringing them closer. One day they snuck out on a date. Hearing the local circus was all the rage, so they decided to check it out. Suddenly Dan saw a snake person performance, eager to watch, but his girlfriend wasn't interested in snakes, so Dan went in alone. There were many different acts, but it was clear they were just people in costumes, until Dan saw the snake person and realized the gravity of the situation.